Hello and welcome back to Upgrade to General, a series to help you upgrade your amateur radio license to General Class. This episode is Sub-Element G2, Question Group E, and I'm your guide, Ron Call, KE7CR. This series of questions deals with digital mode operating. So let's jump into question 1. Which mode is normally used when sending RTTY signals, that's RTTY signals, via AFSK with a SSB transmitter? So that's sending RTTY signals with audio frequency shift keying, AFSK, with a single sideband transmitter. The convention is use lower sideband. There's no real reason technically it needs to be either upper or lower sideband. It can be either one, and the convention is everybody uses lower sideband for RTTY. Radio teletype is a frequency shift keying mode, FSK. There's actually two frequencies and they are transmitted alternately, rapidly in succession one to another. So this is what RTTY sounds like, and you can see here one frequency and the other frequency. This display shows one is they're alternate at right angles to each other. One frequency is called the mark and the other is the space. So that's what RTTY sounds like, and that's a visual that you can use to see if you're watching the video. The next question asks, what is VARA, V-A-R-A? Well, VARA is a digital protocol used with WinLink. WinLink is a program that's used to send email over radio. So if you have a case where maybe ship's out at sea, somewhere where it's a remote location, they don't have internet access, you can use WinLink to forward emails without the internet. And VARA is a protocol incorporated in the WinLink program. So the answer is a digital protocol used with WinLink. Next question, what symptoms may result from other signals interfering with a PACTOR or VARA transmission? Both PACTOR and VARA are digital modes of communication. The answer choices here are frequent retries or timeouts. Now again, if it's digital, if the entire message isn't received, it will act like it didn't get any of it. So it retries and keeps trying again, and if it can't get it, eventually there'll be a timeout. The next choice is long pauses in message transmission while it's trying to forward that message. The next choice, failure to establish a connection between stations. That could happen. So the correct answer to this question is D. All of these choices are correct. Next question. Which of the following is good practice when choosing a transmitting frequency to answer a station calling CQ using FT8? FT8 is probably the most popular new digital mode. It's being used by many people. It's fun. The answer choices are always call on the station's frequency. Next choice, call on any frequency in the waterfall except the station's frequency. C is to find a clear frequency during the same time slot as the calling station. But let me explain how FT8 works. A transmitting station will transmit for a 15-second window and then switch to receive for 15 seconds, then transmit again for 15 seconds, then receive. So it alternates every 15 seconds. So if you're transmitting at the same time that station's transmitting, they're not going to hear you at all. Also, if you're on the same frequency, you may be interfering with another station trying to contact them. So the answer choice is to find a clear frequency during the alternate time slot to the calling station. This is what FT8 sounds like. So you can hear a 15-second transmitting window, followed by a pause, and then you'll hear other stations transmitting for 15 seconds, and then it alternates to the first station's transmitting. And so you want to be on the off time for the transmitting station, and the best choice is to be on a clear frequency so that they pick you up. Next question, what is the standard sideband for JT65, JT9, FT4, or FT8 digital signals when using AFSK? Now, these are all digital modes. They're all developed in a suite of software called the WSJTX suite. That's when you download that, it's free, and they You can choose any of those digital modes. If you're using AFSK, it's a sound card or an audio frequency shift keying mode. So your computer sound card will generate the audio tones to use for those programs, for those modes. And it's transmitted on a single sideband transmitter. By convention, everybody uses upper sideband or USB for those digital modes. So the answer choice, upper sideband. Next question, what is the most common frequency shift for RTTY emissions in the amateur HF bands? Now again, you can see these two peaks if you're watching the video. The mark and the space, they're separated by 170 Hertz. That's the most common frequency shift for RTTY. Next question, which of the following is required when using FT8? Now, because of the 15-second time windows, you have to have very accurate computer times. If your computer is going to be communicating with another computer somewhere and your times are not synchronized, you're going to be off base when he's transmitting. You're not going to be receiving the right packets, and so you've got to have synchronized time. So it's very important to use, like an accurate atomic time clock. Make sure you set your computer time to within 1 second. Next question. In what segment of the 20-meter band are most digital mode operations commonly found? The digital modes start just above the CW. CW is at the lowest portion of the band, then digital modes are just above that. So on 20-meter band, it starts at about 14.070 megahertz and goes to 14.100 megahertz. Next question, how do you join a contact between two stations using the PACTOR protocol? That's impossible. Joining an existing contact is not possible because PACTOR connections are limited to 2 stations. Essentially, PACTOR is like a radio to internet connection. A request is made for a certain destination, the destination responds to the request, and the communication goes just between those 2 points. Next question, which of the following is a way to establish contact with a digital messaging system gateway station? And the answer is transmit a connect message on the station's published frequency. Next question, what's the primary purpose of an amateur radio emergency data network, AREDN, mesh network? Now the answer choices here, one is to provide FM repeater coverage in remote areas, not necessary for emergency communications. Another choice to provide real-time propagation data by monitoring amateur radio transmissions worldwide. Again, that doesn't say anything about an emergency data thing. Another choice, provide DX spotting reports to aid contesters and DXers. Again, nothing mentioning emergency stuff. The only answer choice mentioning emergencies is to provide high-speed data services during an emergency or community event. And that's the answer. Mesh networks are essentially kind of like an ad hoc internet. It's just between radios, but you're using maybe old modems to network between radios and kind of put up an ad hoc network. And that can be very useful during an emergency situation, to link radios together to transmit high-speed digital data. Next question, which of the following describes WinLink? And the answer choice is an amateur radio wireless network to send and receive email on the internet, and that's true. Another choice is a form of packet radio. That's also true. It sends emails as data packets. Another choice is a wireless network capable of both VHF and HF band operations, and that's true too. There's WinLink HF, and there's also WinLink FM for VHF operations. So all 3 of those are true, so the answer choice is all of the above. Next question, what is another name for a WinLink remote message server? Well, that's a gateway. A gateway connects networks, and you're connecting a radio network to the internet. So that's a gateway. Next question, what could be wrong if you cannot decode a RTTY or other FSK signal even though it is apparently tuned in properly? The answer choices here are the mark and space frequencies may be reversed. Yeah. Now on your software you need to set those so it's correctly getting the mark and the space. If the software configuration is reversed, you're going to get everything backwards, so it won't decode correctly. Another choice is you may have selected the wrong baud rate. Yeah, when you're using RTTY, you have to specify what baud rate you're using. So if you've selected the wrong one, it's not going to decode correctly. Another choice is you may be listening on the wrong sideband, and that's true too. If you've got it on upper sideband instead of lower sideband, you're going to get everything wrong. So the answer is all of these choices are correct. And the last question, which of the following is a common location for FT8? You can look these up online or under the help files of the WSJTX programs, and they're almost always at 0.074 of the band. For example, 20 meters, you would see it at 14.074. On 15 meters, 21.074. 40 meters, 7.074. So one of the answer choices here is approximately 14.074 megahertz to 14.077 megahertz. And that's the correct answer. So that's it for this question set, subelement G2. Join me for subelement G3 in the next episode. Thanks, and 73. This is KE7CR.